Hey there, thinkers. Welcome back to another episode of Critical Hit. My name is S.
And I'm Pid, and today we're going to bring you an article from Variety. This comes at the cost of SAG-AFTRA, and that is this: strike hangs on a $480 million gap between actors and studios on the streaming pay.
Let's get into it.
Talks broke down last week between the major studios and SAG-AFTRA, with the studios saying the gap between the two sides is, quote, too great, unquote, to continue productive negotiations. Until they can bridge the gap, SAG-AFTRA will remain on strike, and the entertainment industry will remain shut down. So how big is the gap?
I'm going to assume, is it like the $480 million?
$480 million.
Holy kilowatts, of course!
And so that really means that the
Yikes.
Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, that's AMPTP, are willing to pay $20 million, which, the writers, WGA, only got $5 million to start, by the way. Now they will get residuals that open the door to a lot of better things for the WGA. But in this case, they're offering the SAG-AFTRA $20 million to start.
Right from the get-go, eh?
Right from the get-go. And they did say it was very comparable to the WGA deal, which was actually, I think, a fantastic deal. So you have $480 million, and that's the difference between what the SAG-AFTRA wants in the new streaming residual formula. They want $500 million. And the AMPTP, that's the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers, currently wants to pay them about $20 million. So we remember the good deal the WGA got. They got $5 million to start, but really it opened up the door to them to much better possibilities. The whole revenue share thing they wanted, the residuals. But they were willing to take a little bit less now to get started in that. So as far as the AMPTP has said, they've given them a deal that was very comparable to what the WGA got, which we know was quite a good deal. And essentially the SAG-AFTRA just scoffed at it and said, "Thou shalt not stand."
Yeah, no, they were all like, how disrespectful, shame on you.
We are not animals. Channeling my inner Bryan Cranston here. Pretty big spread, of course, and the two sides are at odds on other issues as well, including artificial intelligence and increases in minimum rates. But it was at the vast gap on streaming residuals that prompted the breakdown in talks. No, don't get me wrong. I think revenue sharing is a good thing. Companies don't need more money. I mean, who's really making money? Okay, shareholders, fine. But when 10% of the richest people in America own something like 80% of the stock market, who's really making the money? Who are we making richer? I'm okay with putting more money back in individual hands.
Yeah.
And if the actors, if the writers want to make that battle theirs, where we start more revenue sharing with big companies, fine. I think it's a good thing to put money back. I mean, you're going to see bigger inflation, but I think it's a good thing to put money in individuals' hands instead of, or more people's hands instead of less people's. Let's put it that way. What they actually want is no risk, all reward. Mm-hmm. So if I start a company tomorrow...
No risk, high reward.
Yeah. No risk, massive reward.
Yeah.
So I want to go to, let's just say the actor's case. I go to a movie. I go spend 6 months, 8 months, a year of my life, whatever, depending on your production.
18 hours.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve...
Yeah, it is long hours on the film, absolutely. Although I would argue that the people, for instance, who drive them from the set and then drive them home at night actually work longer hours. Mm-hmm. Not saying they deserve more money. I'm just saying that if you're really talking about people that are underpaid, you might need to look elsewhere other than just actors.
Quality.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are getting less than they should be getting paid.
Share.
And I don't think actors are actually the ones that fall into that category. But regardless, actors can get more because they could bring value. Mm-hmm. Value that other people can't bring. And what I mean by that is, if I'm an actor, let's say I'm Tom Cruise. Let's say I'm Tom Hanks. I know, imagine me this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. But if I'm... Yeah, it's difficult. Damn. But now... Well, now I bring value to a project. Because if I'm Tom Cruise and I'm starring in a big film, people may go see it because Tom Cruise is in it. Now, lately, in Marvel movies, they say people go to see the characters, not the individuals. Do I go see Captain America or do I see Chris Evans? I might go actually see Captain America.
I can see you more as Robert Downey Jr.
Perfect. It's the beard right now.
I think so.
Right, so my point was actors can bring value. So with that value can come extra money associated with it. Absolutely, A-list actors. Now that's not exactly what they're fighting for. They're fighting for, in a lot of cases, some of the smaller time actors that don't necessarily bring a lot of that value. And if you're not adding value to something, or at least adding more value to something than anyone else could, then why do you deserve more money? And that's why actors really have the big pull, and they make all the money they do, or A-list actors do anyways. It makes sense, because you add value. But in this case, they want to take no risk, and they want to get all the reward.
All the reward.
So if I'm an actor and I work 8 months, a year in a film, whatever you said, 18 hours in a dress, fine, I get paid $1 million for it.
Weird.
Snow White's case, specifically the one we referenced, she got paid $1 million.
Wow.
You're right, I worked long hours for 8 months. Was it worth $1 million? Probably.
Of course
Sure.
it is.
The free market's willing to say it is. The company's willing to pay that, so yeah, sure. But now that I've taken no risk, if it fails, you don't lose any money.
Nope.
If it goes under, if you actually destroy the brand, you don't lose anything. In fact, if the rights ever then get what they want, if the rights ever get streamed on anywhere after that, even though it's already lost money, they want some of the revenue share of it. I want to get residuals, even though I've lost you money. Like, it's a crazy business model, and I can't believe any studio ever does this. I guess it's because studios probably have a fairly low operating cost, or at least they used to, compared to other businesses that actually have to get a lot of raw materials in. Now, I know production costs do get pretty hefty nowadays.
Yeah, there's a lot, like their budgets tend to run super high nowadays.
Sure, but the profit margins on making movies typically are a little higher than other industries. Like game development, for instance, one failure in a game can completely destroy you. If I'm a steel plant, for instance, and steel goes up in price, I mean, that's a variable I can't control that could put me out of business. That's something that movie studios don't necessarily have to compete with the same way. All I'm trying to say is, even though production costs and CGI is quite high, there are profit margins, maybe that's more willing to do these transfers, for instance. If I develop software for Google, I'm never going to get some of that revenue share for it. That's not something that anyone else does, because I'm not taking any risk. I'm giving a job. I mean, I might lose my job if it doesn't do well, sure, because of layoffs, but I'm not taking any risk. I'm still going to get my paycheck at the end of the day. Whereas the company could risk losing millions, or in some cases, billions of dollars. Warner Brothers, Time Discovery Warner Brothers, losing billions last year. Disney lost $400 million just last quarter, billions in the last year. So they never want to take responsibility for not creating content that people come and see that drive in money. No, I still want to get paid anyways. But now, if it does well, I deserve to get paid way more. And if it does okay, I still deserve to get paid more.
You serious?
Even if it loses you money. And it's just a crazy concept, crazy business model.
Well, I don't see the downside of that.
Well, if you're the employee, absolutely. But for everyone else that watches that entertainment, you have to understand that's a big cost to put on a movie studio. And how does the movie studio incorporate that cost?
It's
And so
reflected onto the consumer.
that gets passed on to the end consumer is how that works out. They pay you it, then you deserve it. I'm just saying that maybe, just maybe, relatively to everyone else out there, you might be acting a little bit entitled. Let's put it that way.
Oh my gosh, do you think?
As we carry on into this, so the union leaders have said that they expected to keep negotiating and were taken by surprise when the AMPTP walked away from the table. Well, I mean, that's a pretty big discrepancy. But according to the AMPTP, the union gave an ultimatum demanding that the studios agree to its, quote, untenable, unquote, proposal for the per-subscriber tax, or the strike would continue.
How dare you only offer me $20 million?
20 million. We want 500 to start.
I requested $500 million.
Not even requested. I gave an ultimatum.
Or else.
That's a good negotiating tactic. I like it. I like where your mind's at.
Fantastic.
Must have been a salesman in previous life, selling car insurance. So this is the WGA, and this is what goes into the article. So they did get about $5 million a year on the outset. That's going to be paid into a fund, and then that fund pays out residuals to different shows based on viewership. So they took I don't want to say they took a cut. I mean, that is a substantial pay increase. I mean, they went from $10,000 a week for writers up to $14,500. It was substantial. And that's just for writers in the writer room, let alone residuals, which we're actually talking about here. But SAG-AFTRA is aiming significantly higher. The guilds proposed that each streaming platform should pay 57 cents per subscriber per year. That's the union's chief negotiator has said the sum amounts to less than a postage stamp per subscriber. I love how they associate it to things like this. It's a postage stamp, isn't it?
It's a postage
But how? Like,
stamp.
there's so many variables in this equation. What if I only subscribe to the platform for 3 months because I want to watch one show? It had nothing to do with your show. Or I guess this actually goes to the union. So in some cases it has to do with every show. But what if I'm only subscribed for a few months a year? What if I'm only subscribed for? Or I have a package or something else. Like, there's so many variables in this that to just say give us 57 cents per subscriber and then we get to decide how that gets paid out in residuals. I don't know. That's, again, to me, relative to every other business out there in the world, this is just crazy. You don't get deals like this. Now, if they're going to pay you this, absolutely, fucking take it. Damn right. But I don't. Again, I think you're so far away from reality and what these people are worth. I know we've seen AI right now in the background.
Oh, man. Have you actually seen those AI things?
Yeah, listen. Mark 1 looked terrifying. It's nightmare fuel, sure. But having said that, that's Mark 1. I mean, when you get to Mark 10, or version 10 of the same feature, maybe it's going to look a lot better. Like Disney Plus, I can't think, there's very few items on that I would watch.
I'm gonna butcher this, but Ahsoka.
No, yeah, it was not good. I agree. You know, I would have liked to do a review on Ahsoka. But I feel like every single review we ever did was just like, except for like Mission Impossible, was like a bad review. And I was starting to feel like I was a pretty big negative Nelly.
Well, we kept like doing like The Flash, and like every single movie that kept coming in was just a bomb. Like every single flop after flop. And it's like, okay, well, disaster Disney.
Yeah, I kind of like to do a positive review. And that's why my next review I plan to be The Marvels, because I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
I'm sure it's going to be great.
All those shows, Secret Invasion, Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Even Mandalorian Season 3. God
Andor.
damn. Actually, Andor was really good. I really enjoyed Andor. I don't care what anyone else says. Andor was an absolutely fantastic show. Political intrigue done amazingly well. Set in the Star Wars universe.
You found one.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was, I don't want to say it was a return to form for Star Wars. It was really completely different. It was just done really, really well. Okay. You know, if they had made more content like that, I would have been much more excited to see it. Every Marvel show, I can't think of, Loki Season 2 so far is okay. But for the most part, there's, of course. Oh, God, please stop. You had me in Secret Invasion. You didn't need to go further. You've already sold me on how terrible these shows are. I could probably get people to work for cheaper, is all I'm saying.
I'm sure.
That's all I'm saying with how much they make right now. And with how little they add to that effectiveness category nowadays. But as we get back into it, the money would go to a jointly administered fund, in which the trustees of the fund would distribute it to actors whose projects appear on the platform. According to the union, the funds would be, presumably, allocated based on the viewership of each show. And that viewership won't come from Parrot Analytics or a third-party data provider. Instead, they're going to rely on the studios to provide the data, and then they're going to pay it out accordingly. That, to me, sounds like a whole bunch of different ways of looking at bad corruptness and nepotism that's going to happen in order to pay the right people the right things. But regardless, let's not have an objective way of doing something. Let's make it subjective so we can corrupt it.
Yeah. Well, how better?
Much better. Let's make it. The trustees would have to determine how to divide the residuals. Right now, actors get paid on a, quote, time and salary units, unquote, or a, quote, rateable distribution formula, unquote. Otherwise known as a, quote, 3-2-1, unquote, formula under either method. Series regulars get more than guest stars who get more than day players. I mean, which makes sense. You pay people who are on the show more, of course, but again, this goes back to my point. But you take no risk.
But they've already been on the show for so long, they're getting paid the most anyway.
Yeah, but the people who add the most value do deserve to get paid the most. Don't get me wrong. But how much value are you adding? If someone gets replaced as an actor in that show, would I not watch it? Are you that integral to the show, that deserving to your paycheck, that I wouldn't watch it anymore? I'm going to say 99.9% of the time, I wouldn't care if they replaced an actor.
No, not
unless that actor was like terrible.
The Witcher. Oh, The Witcher, okay. That's like, okay, that bothers me.
That's the 0.1%. Because Henry Cavill made the show. Like, absolutely made the show.
I hate when they replace Superman. I don't like when they replace Supermans. Or if they replace the Flashes. I don't like when they change actors. Especially for people who are like concrete, like who actually see them.
And that's adding value, absolutely. So if someone adds value like that, that's why they deserve this.
When you associate an actor with the actual character, like if they replaced Wednesday or Jenna Ortega off of Wednesday, people would be so upset if they replace it. They wouldn't watch it.
Well, there you go. So there's the value.
I mean, but I've watched shows where like they replace like the father or like the mother or even
it's a little jarring. I'll give you that. It's a little jarring. But overall, I don't think that person adds that much value.
No.
And like I said, if you're not adding value, if you're not being more effective, then you got to get more efficient.
I'll tell you one show. It was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when they replaced the aunt. Nobody cared.
I was actually thinking the same thing. I really was. I didn't want to mention it, but I was. Anyways, To get back into it, the AMPTP, meanwhile, is offering essentially the same proposal approved by the WGA under the WGA contract, which was ratified 2 weeks ago on a 99% vote. The writers on a successful show, I think that's supposed to get a 50% bonus on their fixed residuals. Shows will qualify if their domestic views reach the equivalent of 20% of the domestic subscriber base within 90 days. And I mean, that is a very fair deal. And they're offering the same thing to AMPTP. Now, I'm not going to go into a big argument about who is more valuable, writers or actors. I think they all have their role to play. I mean, essentially, I just want to say fuck off when I see it. Well, take more money out of the studio's hands. I like that too. I like when people get more money. That makes me happy. You need to make your shareholders happy, because when you make your shareholders happy, then they'll keep you on as CEO. Well, then they keep the same directors, and the directors vote for the directors choose who the CEO is. So, I mean, that's how it works.
Make your directors happy.
Make your directors happy. But that's the deal right now. Looks like for AMPTP offering the SAG-AFTRA a fairly solid deal. SAG-AFTRA saying, go fuck yourself. And
shame on your cow.
Shame on you. We want 2% revenue share.
Not working at
I don't think you should ever try to get a revenue share model in this. That's
no.
2% revenue share is just absolutely ridiculous. Because even if I lose money, I still have to pay you, which is just ridiculous. I can't afford that.
Let me go bankrupt because you want your 2%.
With your no risk. But you know what? I just want to talk about this a little bit because I think that I thought the WGA was a little bad, but I'm glad for them. Good on you for getting more money. I think you're going to have less opportunity. But now I see what the actors are asking for, and oh boy, like I don't even know where to start.
They're so greedy.
I just think entitled. I think the fact that you think you deserve this is what really gets me. Because no other job in the world will get you this, and Bob Iger ran Disney into the ground for hundreds of millions in some cases over the last couple of years. But anyways, do I think that he added that value? No, I absolutely don't. Do I think CEOs add that much value in general? No, I really don't. Now, they do have a lot of stress in some cases. Maybe they deserve something. But again, this is all craziness.
Yeah, they deserve something when their movies actually make money.
If anything, the most fair thing to say would be, we want a share of the profit. Just to say I deserve revenue is insanity. Of course, carrying on after the WGA strikes, they're asking for significantly more. In my eyes, I see nothing but entitled brats just looking for... In this case, I really think this looks like a handout, which is unfortunate. But that's what it looks like to me. They just want a handout. I want to do a little bit of work and get paid the most amount of possible, taking no risk and get all the reward.
Well, yeah, it's part of our lazy culture.
Wow, and they're promoting it. Pop culture is at the forefront of our culture here. That's what's at stake here. When you see the movies go like this, when you see the actors act like this, the rest of the world will start following. At least the rest of the country will start following. And that's the danger, because now we're putting this precedent forward to everyone else, and it's only going to get worse. No, but anyways, that's all I got.
That's asking way too much, by the way. No, I've got nothing else to say here.
Well, thank you for joining us till this point. Thanks for sticking with us. If you have any comments, questions about what we said, if you disagree, please let us know down in the comment section. But otherwise, that's all I got, and we'll see you in the next video.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And see you guys in the next video. Toodles!
Bye, guys.